Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan battle video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the Beyond Boundless Power, Super Saiyan God SS Goku Kaioken, and Super Saiyan God SS Evolved Vegeta, otherwise affectionately known as the Super Saiyan Evoken LR, or basically just Evoken LR, and a pretty good unit after their easy aim. I have them at 55%, which is a bit unusual, I guess, for a long-running account, but I didn't get a lot of luck for them. I don't get a lot of luck for them. But yeah, basically, you still got them 55%, and I think that's cool enough to take a look at. So, all out struggle or joined forces category lead of 170%, greatly raises attack and defense for 1 turn, lowers enemy attack and defense on their 12 key. On the 18 key, massively raises attack and defense, which means doubles their defense, and also greatly lowers attack and defense of the enemy. They have key +4, attack and defense of 170%. They randomly change key spheres of a certain type to rainbow key spheres when there's another superhero's category ally. They get an additional 2 key per rainbow key sphere. They get an additional attack and defense of 7% per key sphere. They have a chance of performing a critical hit +7%, damage reduction +7%, and launch an additional attack that has a high chance of becoming a super attack, up to 3 additional attacks within a turn per rainbow key sphere. They get an additional attack and defense of 70% if key is 18 or more, and they reduce damage received by 70% when HP is 50% or less, and performs a critical hit if key is 24. So basically, they look really good. In terms of build, listen, they can get up to 28% crit, but I would still prioritize a crit build on them. You really want to... Well, sorry, I wouldn't prioritize a crit build on them. Thank you, sorry very much. When you get to 24 key, they are guaranteed a critical hit. And for me, you need to bear that in mind when you're building them. I think overall, I would say you're probably looking at a unit that, well, I think what I mean to say is they only get their critical hit when you're at 24 below 50% health. So what you need to do is when you're above 50% health, you do need to have a little bit of crit to kind of latch onto that additive crit that they have from their passive. That will help you to score yourself some good crit hits. And these are the kind of guys that can do a lot of super attacks. So, for example, they have 3 50% chances at a super attack. They then have their own baseline super attack. They then also have their own additional super attack from the hidden potential system. So what that means is they can fire up to 5 super attacks in a turn. And you don't need a lot of additional for this to happen. Let's say you have 20 additional and like 20 crit. Then you're looking at a unit that will potentially have almost a 50% crit rate, as well as a pretty decent shot at getting at least 4 super attacks or even 3. I think that's the way to go. Evasion, look, doesn't feel too necessary. Their start turn defense is insane, like 230k at a 55% with a bit of support. It can get really high, which you'll see, but that's mainly because of the manipulation of 2-turn supports, like the Android 17 and 18. But their damage reduction makes up for it, and the fact that they massively raise attack and defense makes up for it as well. Because what they do is basically they have 230k defense, but then they also have 21% damage reduction. But then that defense doubles and becomes 400k, and then they fire off another 2 super attacks. Those 2 super attacks give them, another 20%. So then they're well over 500k. But before all of that takes place, they also get an additional 70% attack and defense if key is at 18 or more. So if they've got like 230k defense, an additional 70% on top of that essentially makes them 360. They double that to 720. They then get 20% of 360 4 more times. You can see that they can get above 1 million quite easily. Couple that with 21% damage reduction, and even at 55% after super, they're very solid defensively. Not that they're going to mainline front tank every super in the game, but they're not going to let you down, not even remotely. So they are a very good unit. Listen, active skill wise, it is also difficult. I think their active skill is great. Can be used when HP is 50% or less. They give themselves a whole bunch of ki. They give themselves a huge boost to attack. They can hit very hard with this. But at the same time, you gotta understand that it's kind of a last resort. Fortunately for them, they do get 70% damage reduction when below HP once only. So what it means is whenever you get below 50%, even though you are gonna slash your defense, if you use the active skill, you basically will still have 70% additional defense coverage for it, which I think ultimately is really good and helps you out a lot. So I think that's really good design, because it means that they're not punished for that first entrance into being below 50%. If you decide to hold on and use the active skill later, you accept you won't have the damage reduction, and that's your own choice. But at least you have everything come together. So I think overall, if you do 5%, these guys are really good. Listen, I think they're really good at any percentage, but I think they show that they're still good after an easy A. I really like when easy A's are good, not just at Rainbow. It's like they considered that people might be pulling the unit for the first time, and I see that a lot with these guys. Their start turn defense isn't anything to run home about, but to be honest with you, you're not really that concerned about their start turn defense. It's not something you're going to lose sleep over because of their damage reduction, because of everything like that. They're not necessarily a true nuking unit, because although they do thrive off a lot of orbs, it's actually more the damage reduction, the additional attacks, and the critical hits that you want coming from rainbow orbs. So although you could fill up the field with physical orbs, you're losing a lot of the utility that they actually get from rainbow orbs. But I think this actually suits them more, because it makes them a lot more like a physical Goku Black, but with a little bit better utility on it. Physical Goku Black is very tied to the number of attacks he does to gain any kind of advantage, whereas these guys could miss out on the additional supers, but still be very good because they still have that damage reduction and the strength of the first super. Link-wise, they're very good. They link pretty solidly with a lot of units on superheroes and on USS and on Reps of Universe 7. They've got Super Saiyan, Tournament to Power, Fierce Battle, Legendary Power, Kamehameha. All of these are super common. TOP is common for obviously USS and Reps of Universe 7 team. Super Saiyan, Kamehameha, Fierce Battle, Legendary Power links well with pretty much any Goku, Gohan, LR based unit. And then they have Godly Power, Warrior Gods, which puts them in a good space for any blue or UI or any kind of unit like that. I think overall for me, I'd have to say that they are very good, and I was very impressed with them. And yeah, I think overall, they are very good. Link-wise, they link up really nicely with a lot of Universal Survival Saga units, superheroes, and I think just overall they're not too difficult to use. Definitely a second slot unit just because of how they work, especially in terms of raw defense. They don't have enough gas to kind of sit in that first slot, but I think they're a great high volume damage dealer. They are able to really kind of obliterate their opponents, and they're a ton of fun. They can get really crazy very quickly, depending on how many orbs you get, and just overall, I think they're really class. So definitely a unit you should easy A. If you are someone who's picked them up, that's fantastic news for you. If you're someone who's yet to get them, don't feel the need or pressure to grab them, but definitely find them a useful unit and someone that you're definitely going to want to use. But yeah, that's it from me. Bye.